Hello everyone and welcome to the Wellness Hub. We are talking about the wellness and health. I have Daniela Nikolova with me. She is a wellness coach, transformative wellness coach. I always wonder about this word, transformative. What does it mean, Daniela?
Very good question. Good morning, Dr. Ola. Dr. Ola always surprises me. By the way, we never have a script, just so you're aware. We always have this kind of surprise moments with questions, and we wanted to keep it as organically as
Absolutely.
possible, right? And be authentic. Transformative. Why I call it transformative is because in my approach is holistic. And perhaps I'll share a little bit about my story, how I reached the point of transformation. There was a time in my life when I was faced with numerous health challenges, and I was just so focused on fixing the body, and that was after my second son was born. Just things were not going well. It was one challenge after another, and doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. And so for 3 years, I could barely walk, I could barely function, until I realized that it's not just the body, it's the mental, it's the emotions, it's the spirituality. And one day I was introduced to a kinesiologist. At that point, I couldn't even lift my hand back. And I didn't believe in that. So I went to the kinesiologist, and she worked with traditional Chinese medicine as well, with the meridians. And after the session, I was able to walk out. And prior to that, they had to help me climb the stairs. So I understood that there is something way much higher and more powerful than just the body. That's how I was introduced to the healing arts, energy healing arts. And that's how I started studying in nutrition, getting deeper in nutrition, body movement, and the power of the mind. So when I say transformative, it's because I address all different aspects of the human being. So we work with the body, with nutrition, we work with the emotions, with the mental, reprogramming the mind, and of course with the spirituality, because without being connected to our spiritual self, we're not really living. We're so disconnected from our intuition. We're so disconnected from the intelligence of our body, which is often such a sound board for direction, if we just listen to it. So yes, this is where transformative comes from.
That's very interesting, because for me, as a psychologist, I've been in psychology for 15 years now. And I know when people come, they are looking for a shift, for a transformation, right? For a change. And the change, I keep repeating myself, doesn't come from the mind only. It comes through so many different channels, because we are complex being, right? It's not so straightforward. But what I notice in my practice is that big transformations usually come from what I've seen, from illness or from some challenge in life. Or from some pain is involved. But for me as a practitioner, and obviously I have my own story, human story, right? Which again proves that some pain is necessary for transformation. But at the same time, I wonder, is this the only way? I always wonder, do we really need to hit the wall and go down to have the transformation? Or are there any other ways to keep yourself open for transforming in a little bit gentler way? And maybe it's just I'm dreaming here, but I just really want to know what you feel, what you think about this.
It is very much possible, but I also believe that pain is a communicator. But I have seen when people make conscious decisions, and this usually comes with people who were brought up in an environment where spirituality, emotion was addressed in a very open way. So they kind of grew up with that belief system that, well, this is my way, this is the way to go. It's not just nutrition, it's not just mental health, it's not just emotion. They usually come from a place, from a home where all of those different aspects were addressed. So they grew up with that mindset, and growth became their natural way of being, by even you know, if you journal, for example, as we know, children learn not through
Yes.
what we say, but through our actions. So if they see mom and dad eating healthy, that's going to become their lifestyle. If they see mom and dad meditating, that's going to be their lifestyle. So the lessons are probably not going to become so hard in the form of like the dark night of the soul, like we speak in spirituality, or some traumatic event, be it emotional or physical. And I lost my thought. I'm sure there's a reason for it.
Yeah, that's okay, because I like what you're saying, you know,
Yeah.
because it sounds like it's not only like to get to that point where you can be aware enough of what's going on in your life, of paying attention to different aspects of your life, not to hit the wall. Right?
Yes.
So having someone who models it for you with healthy nutrition, with meditation, such as a parent, would be a
Yes.
good start,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But like, let's say for those people who didn't come from the families where, you know, all these aspects were practiced, spiritual
Yes.
aspect,
Yes.
healthy eating, I don't know,
Yeah.
mindset, like, right? So many families trying to get their way around it, and perhaps if you do not come from such a family that has a lot of awareness, how can you recognize? How can you recognize the signs? What do you pay attention to before you are in the situation? You know, like myself, who suffered migraines for so many years, at the point I couldn't walk anymore, right? It got my attention.
Exactly.
But it didn't have
yes.
to be that way. I
No,
believe,
it didn't
right?
have to be. And that's you said something very important there. Why do we have to keep repeating the same lesson? Why do we have to keep repeating the same pattern until we actually hit the rock bottom? We don't have to, but we're very often so disconnected from ourselves that we just keep doing the same thing. And we don't realize that a situation or a challenge keeps coming back, so we can have a different approach.
Right.
And when it comes to the physical body, all these symptoms, they're communication.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think
Yes.
something very important you said, what I've heard. Many
Yes.
things important, you said many
Yes.
important things.
Yes.
But what I picked up on is first is that awareness, right? What's going on? I'm repeating the pattern, just kind of having that reflection, even through journaling, to
Yes.
see what are my patterns in emotions, what are my patterns in behavior, why is this thing keeps happening to me all the
Exactly.
time. And the second one, making a decision, right? Like, I don't know how, but I don't wish to continue that.
Exactly. And you're an expert in the brain, in the mind. You know how the mind does not like to change. Yeah, it's
No way.
exactly. No, this is my safety zone. The familiar is safety.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to, and that's when the awareness comes, when we literally fall apart, and you know, people have depression
Yes.
or physical challenges, like what it was for me. You know, for example, my spiritual awakening. I had so many physical challenges that my body was saying, you're gonna have to stop trying to be in control of everything and try to start looking on the inside.
Yes.
Because you can't control the outside if you have no control on the inside. So yes, but you know, especially now we have so much information. There is so much information on the outside. We have books, we have social
All the
media,
knowledge,
all the
right?
knowledge.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to the choice
Yeah.
and asking yourself the question, why am I not choosing
Yes.
self-love? Why am I not choosing
Yeah.
well-being?
And sometimes what self-love looks like. What is self-love, right? How will
Yes.
how will I express it? 1, 2, 3, and what actions and what thoughts to myself, and what food, what I'm
Yes.
eating, and so on, right?
Yes, and what I've reached the conclusion that self-love is not bubble baths and you know the massage and all of that.
Once a week.
That could be part of the realization, right? But what I've understood is that self-love is realizing your needs and making a choice to honor them. That could be different needs.
Prioritizing yourself,
Exactly.
speaking kindly to yourself. I think for me it
Yes.
comes a lot with just being kind to yourself, being
Yes.
compassionate,
Forgiving.
forgiving. Are you your
Yes.
main critic or are you your main
Yes.
supporter? Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and I always say, well, what would love say?
What would love
Yeah,
do?
what would love
say?
do? What would love say?
Yeah.
How would love talk to me right now?
To me,
To me.
not to someone
Yes,
else.
to myself.
me,
Yes,
myself.
exactly. Because what happens is we have a headache. we bruise ourselves, we break something. Oh, the body let me down.
My fault.
My
I
fault.
should have.
I shouldn't have. All of those negative thoughts that instantly just rush into our mind. What if it was a friend that came as injured?
How can I?
Would you hit them again? I don't think so. Nobody would do that. We just come and comfort them. It's the same with the different parts of ourselves. Could be a heartbreak, could be a pain in the body. It's just about nurturing, because what happens in that moment, the more we blame ourselves, the more our cortisol levels go higher, and then instead of creating an environment for healing, we're creating an environment which actually amplifies and exaggerates the symptoms.
Yes, absolutely. You know, as we talk,
Yes.
I have an idea. So whoever is listening to us, and if it's
Yes.
resonating with them, maybe for the next week they can journal and just reflect on what is happening in their mind, in their heart, in their behavior, what patterns they can see. And if anyone is interested, they can even reach out to us. We can send them the template of the journal, so that they can just engage if it's easier, or send it
Amazing,
on their
yes.
phone, right?
Absolutely.
So that people have the tools before hitting that wall, but taking that step to reflect and say, how do I become aware? How do I support myself? What needs to be changed? Where do I want to transform? And how I can support myself with that transformation. That works for me.
Yes,
I don't like
absolutely.
illnesses.
Yes, and you know, actually, I have this practical tool where you need to journal for 12 minutes,
Okay.
because 12 represents the 12 months, the 12 hours, right? So there is some kind of a level of completion when it comes to 12. So maybe they can journal.
Absolutely.
You can journal for 12 minutes, and you just set the timer. And I find that always it helps when you set the timer, because you have a structure as well. And journal about anything that crosses your mind, right?
Yes. Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. Let's do that. Let's do that for